everyone.
That is for sure.
Where is Missoula, Western or Eastern Montana, or is it?
Western, yeah, Western.
This says 4 o'clock. Okay, it is 4 o'clock. We're going to go ahead and get started. Welcome to everyone for the November meeting of the Indian River County Hospital District. Welcome to everybody here. We'll start with the invocation, and Pastor West, welcome back.
Thank you, ma'am. Madam Chair, thank you for your service to our community for these number of years. God bless you. Let's pray together. Lord, I thank you for this hospital district, and I thank you for the important role that they serve here. I thank you with which the dignity and class that they handle themselves and they represent themselves. And I further thank you for Dynamic Life and Sunshine Physical Therapy and for Healthy Start Coalition and for We Care. Thank you that we have these foundations and these organizations that really invest in our community. Will you guide them with dignity, with wisdom and strength? In Christ's name I pray. Amen.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Pledge of Allegiance. Can I hear a motion for approval of the consent agenda for approval of the chairman's meeting minutes dated October 16th, the regular monthly meeting minutes dated October 17th, and a November disbursement of
$1,412,306.21.
So moved.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Once again, in this meeting, I would like to congratulate Bill Cooney and Karen here for being reelected to the district, so that's a very good thing. And also welcome to Chuck Mackett, and back again to Alan Jones, who is going to rejoin the district. So they will take over in January, and a couple of us will not. So welcome to those folks. District Council report, Jennifer.
Okay, thank you, Madam Chair. Once again, this month, I've remained available to each of you to respond to questions from trustees as they arise pertaining to various matters the district is handling at the present time. I continue to review the annual deadlines and deliverables due to the district under our lease with Indian River Cleveland Clinic and have responded to those questions as they arise. We are under contract to purchase property for a women's sober living facility and are in our due diligence period, working towards a December 2024 closing date. Assuming all of our due diligence items are cleared and we're able to take clear title, we will be closing next month, subject to those conditions. We have entered into a lease with VCOM to lease the Human Services building and are actively working with VCOM to help them prepare to occupy the building and prepare for that. Participated and assisted with the trustees' strategic planning efforts and continue to remain available to each of you in this regard, and have participated in our annual budget funding cycle as we always do at this time of year, and I'm working with Jenny to finalize the agency funding agreements for the new fiscal year 2024-2025. Any questions anyone has? I'll be happy to take those at this time.
Hearing no questions, we will move on to our financial report. Michael.
Thank you. Fellow trustees, 1 month into our 24-25 fiscal year, I am pleased to report the financials show the hospital district is in very good financial condition. As usual, let's explore the financials by reviewing those summary reports, the last 4 pages of the financial packet that you received, the financial report you received in the packet. Let's start with the last page. This is the district's financial snapshot of investment and cash holdings. The top section of the report shows that our net ad valorem tax receipts for this fiscal year are at $113,266, which represents 0.5%. This is obviously a minimal amount, but actually I look back at October 31st of last fiscal year, we hadn't received any of our tax revenue. As you also know, the majority of our ad valorem tax revenue will be received by the end of the calendar year and then continue to come in a little less all the way through the fiscal year. And Mr. Isley mentioned, shared at the Finance and Audit Committee meeting that we had on Tuesday that he has already received a significant amount tax revenue transferred to him from the county. So we'll see big bumps in the cash on hand. Section 1 of this report of the snapshot includes our laddered U.S. Treasuries. You see they total $3,930,939. And with that influx of tax revenue now arriving, you can expect to see additional laddered T-bills and/or contributions to the preferred deposit pool to increase significantly in the next month or two. And speaking of the PDP, that's our money market account. That's in section 2 of this snapshot. It shows that at October 31st, we held $4,888,655. And section 3 shows the status of our local bank accounts. We're holding, at the end of October, $445,047. Together, all of that totals $9,264,641, again in cash and investment holdings. Go back 3 pages now to page 1 of the year-to-date expenses versus budgeted expenses. As this is the first monthly report for this fiscal year, you might expect expenditures, if equalized, to be around 8.3% for those programs and organizations we fund. As you scan down through the 2.5 pages, you'll see a handful of programs at zero. They simply didn't submit paperwork to get any reimbursements in the month of October, but the majority have begun to receive payments from the district, and all seem pretty much to be in alignment. The total on the final page of these three, a third of the way down, you'll see that the total for all program expenses for this first month through October was $1,378,588, and that computes to 7.3% of what was approved in our budget. And the bottom half of that third page gives you our administrative expenses, and you can see that in this first month, admin totaled $96,999, which happens also to be exactly 7.3%. Combine those two, and you can tell that combined, we're at 7.3% with a total of $1,475,586 expended. You note 3 or 4 lines are highlighted. I did that, say it. We had a meeting on Tuesday with Finance and Audit. I had to get it to Kate to get distributed. And we're just in that first month transition where this report includes all the new programs and agencies. It removed the old programs and agencies, but there were some programs for existing agencies that we don't fund the same way. And then there was at least one item that was there. I highlighted them so I could talk to Kate, and it'll be clean next month. I'll just give you one example. The Mental Health Collaborative, we used to always report, and there were funds set aside for 2 programs, the Collaborative itself and the McCabe Connection Center. And at least in the budget, and I'm not entirely sure what the response will be here for next month, it was just a total for the Collaborative to cover everything. It's probably a discussion that we had at the time, but we'll work through those odds and ends, and they're insignificant is the point, but I thought I'd better explain it because you saw that they were highlighted. So with all of that, that does conclude my report, but I'd be happy.
What is the story on the emergency meals on Wheels? Did they give us back money?
I can speak to that.
Kate's on it.
Sure. Okay, so I was contacted by Gabrielle, the CFO, and they did an internal accounting of their expenses for fiscal year 23-24 and found that there was overbilling. Basically, I'm not sure if there was not enough meals distributed, but I think they met the wait list. So they reimbursed us for the expenses so it wasn't actually recorded properly by the accountants, so that's why it showed up on this P&L. It shouldn't have. It was a fiscal 23-24.
Last year's budget.
Correct.
Exactly.
So
And
that's why it's showing that negative variance. Okay. It shouldn't have happened that way. So it's been corrected. We worked through it. So next month, the reports, and we actually did receive
Right.
an amended P&L.
Yeah, let me just add that we have a new accounting group that we're working with who's fantastic. But there, you know, there's the beginning of the fiscal year. There's still some
Yeah.
settling in we're doing.
Okay, I just wondered what that,
And if you actually look through the financial statement itself, and I'm not sure you do because we've got a good summary now, you'll see there's a lot of zeros and a lot of programs that really aren't part of this year's budget as
Right.
we're not funding those agencies and programs.
They need-
There'll be a lot of cleaning up, doing on both the financial, but certainly in this report that I pulled together.
thank you. Any other questions for Michael? Okay, Executive Director Review, Frank.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So the format and the approach I'm going to take this year for reporting at this meeting, I just wanted to be clear. The chairman's meeting I'm going to use to discuss a lot of the operational items we have happening, a lot of the action items and follow-ups will be addressed at the chairman's. At this meeting, I'm going to use this time to provide updates on our strategic priorities as we progress with those. And so I'm going to start off with that today. The hospital district remains dedicated to addressing the evolving needs of our community. As we plan for the future, our efforts are focused on fostering collaboration, advancing innovative solutions, and ensuring every resident has access to essential healthcare services. One of our key priorities is expanding access to primary care. By partnering with local healthcare organizations, we're working to increase the availability of full-time primary care professionals, including physicians, physician assistants, and nurse practitioners. These efforts are vital in closing gaps in care and ensuring timely, equitable access to services. To guide these initiatives, we're establishing a baseline count of providers who accept a variety of insurance plans, but particularly Medicaid. This will allow us to target our resources effectively. Equally important is addressing the critical need for mental health services in our community. Mental health challenges affect nearly a quarter of adults in Indian River County, yet many go untreated. To tackle this, we're collaborating with organizations to expand the availability of mental health professionals, such as psychiatric nurse practitioners and licensed counselors. These partnerships will provide a much-needed support to residents and reduce the strain on emergency services caused by untreated mental health conditions. Healthcare disparities remain a significant concern for the district, particularly for uninsured and underinsured populations, including those in the ALICE demographic, asset-limited, income-constrained, employed. By working closely with agencies dedicated to serving these vulnerable groups, we are working to eliminate barriers to care. The expiration of Medicaid's COVID-19 continuous coverage provision earlier this year in April left over 10,000 residents without coverage, nearly half of them being children. Preventive health care is another cornerstone of our efforts. We are investing in county-wide initiatives to reduce preventable conditions like diabetes, hypertension, obesity, and common cancers. By supporting programs that emphasize disease prevention and early cancer detection, we aim to lower hospitalizations and improve long-term outcomes. These proactive measures not only enhance the quality of life, but also reduce the financial burden on our local healthcare system here in Indian River County. Substance use prevention is also a critical focus area, recognizing the profound impact of substance abuse on families and communities. We are collaborating with local organizations to develop initiatives centered on education, prevention, and treatment. Our goal is to reduce substance use rates and mitigate the associated social and economic costs. Advocacy remains an integral part of our overall strategy. The district is supporting policies that expand Medicaid coverage, enhance access to primary and mental health care, and promote preventive care initiatives. To amplify our impact, we're exploring partnerships with lobbyists and pursuing federal grants to secure sustainable funding for these essential programs. As we look ahead, the district is committed to addressing systemic healthcare challenges with determination and creativity. By uniting stakeholders, fostering collaboration, and focusing on these priorities, we're building a healthier future for Indian River County. Our work is guided by a shared vision of equitable, accessible healthcare for all and a deep belief in the power of collective action to transform lives. Subsequent reporting over the next several months and years at this meeting will include our progress on these critically important initiatives. So, Madam Chairman, I would also like to, over the past year, one of the things that I've acknowledged loud and clear is the fact that, there's folks ask what the hospital district is, what we do, what our impact is. So we've made several, we've put several things in place to try to educate and inform people on who we are, what we do, and why we're here. So I'd like to talk to one specific, I'd like to tell a story today about a patient I was fortunate enough to meet a few weeks ago. So her name is Macy. She's a young patient whose journey illustrates the incredible work being done by someone who's going to present today, Sunshine Physical Therapy Clinic, and why financial support from the hospital district is very essential. At just 2.5 years old, and it took me, let me tell you, I read through what I wrote here probably about 15 times until I could do it without choking up. Macy endured an unimaginable physical abuse that left her with a traumatic brain injury. Her condition was so severe that doctors had to remove part of her skull to relieve the swelling. For a month, Macy lay in a coma, her future uncertain. Her mother, unable to care for her, reached out to longtime friends, Darren and Lisa Jones, who felt a profound calling to foster and eventually adopt her. When Macy began her journey with Sunshine Physical Therapy, her challenges seemed insurmountable. She wore a helmet to protect her skull. She couldn't walk or speak, and she struggled with her vision. She had minimal control of her left side. She could only drink thickened liquids through a straw, and she weighed just 17 pounds. But with Sunshine's expert team of pediatric therapists offering physical, occupational, and speech therapy, Macy's progress exceeded all expectations. Today, because I met her, I can say that she talks up a storm, she eats whatever she likes, not just what's through a straw, and she's celebrated by her favorite football team, the Miami Dolphins. Having an independent, and as a PT and someone who's been in healthcare for many years, this is something I know to be true. Having an independent nonprofit outpatient therapy clinic providing customized care for all ages in a community our size is exceedingly rare. Sunshine accepts all insurances, including Medicaid, because they believe in accessible care for everyone in need, regardless of financial barriers. Despite this commitment, they lose $65. They lose $65 on each Medicaid visit. This is a horrible business model, as Ginny Blossom, who we'll hear from a little bit later, the CEO of Sunshine Physical Therapy Clinic, often says. In a given month, over 80% of pediatric visits at Sunshine Physical Therapy Clinic are Medicaid patients. So you can imagine the loss, yet they persist. Because they're driven by a mission to support our community's most vulnerable, like Macy, whose life is forever changed because of their care. I wanted to share this today because Macy's story exemplifies why the hospital district exists and why our trustees and staff are so dedicated to what we do every day. Through our investments in healthcare services, mental health support, and upstream initiatives like supportive housing, we're not just addressing the immediate needs, but unlocking the potential within individuals like Macy. When we invest in human beings, we strengthen the foundation of our community, enabling people to thrive, contribute, and live healthier, more fulfilling lives. Our work is about more than dollars spent. It's about fostering hope, dignity, and the opportunity for every resident to reach their full potential. Thank you.
You did that well. How old is Macy?
How old is she now? She's 9. She's 9.
She's 9. God bless her.
She was dancing with her dad at the gala.
What a great family, fantastic family,
Awesome.
wonderful people.
Yep. And congratulations to her family, too, for doing that. That's great. Thank you, Frank.
Thank you.
Appreciate that. Okay, we're going into our funded agencies, and first we have Dynamic Life. Mike?
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Mike Cianci. I think most of you all know me, but for the record, I am the one of the program managers at Dynamic Life for grant certifications and that sort of stuff. So I'm honored to be here. Thank you for the opportunity to share what is going on at Dynamic Life. I had got the list of questions from Kate. And so I wanted to get into that. First, the operation is going well. You've seen our report and the statistics in there. We are very thankful that Amendment 3 failed in our state, which would have provided for recreational use of marijuana. The telling part about that was that it would have approved had it been just a regular majority vote, but because of the 60% cap to make that possible, they did not meet the criteria. So thankfully that was turned down and we're back to where we are, but that doesn't mean we don't remain vigilant in our quest for that. So we're excited about that. We put our report, one of our gentlemen, his story is in there. His name is Troy. He was one of our awesome success stories at Dynamic Life. He went through he was scholarship thanks to the funding of the hospital district. He went to the STEP program, graduated from STEP. He participated in our behavioral health counseling program, and he is now a quality assurance manager, technician at Perricone Farms, and he's doing very well there. The most important part of that is that he was reunited with his 2 children. And so you can read more of his story in the report. But those are the kinds of things that, we love to share with people. Of course, with recovery, you don't know how it's going to go sometimes. And, you bring them in, you provide the best opportunity for them, and hopefully that succeeds. And some people may not be ready for that type of a structured program. So we are blessed to be able to share with you our success stories, which is fantastic. We are doing some continual assessments on how we operate our business. As you know, like most nonprofits, everybody wears many hats. And so we are looking into doing some additional hiring to replace me and really delve into a specific person for our case management program and our assessment program. So we're really thankful for that to take place. A couple of other things we've broken out into not just focusing on the men in our program, but their families, and that's what our mission statement says. And so we've now gotten involved with Breaking Chains Women's Ministry, and they actually came to speak at Dynamic Life. And the goal of that, along with our Al-Anon, is to have the women in the men's lives go along through a program of healing simultaneously, so that when the resident gets out, his wife or girlfriend, maybe his mother, has had that opportunity to heal from the chaos that comes with addiction. So we're really pleased to bring the families involved and the female component involved, and that's been a great opportunity for the women of our men. And we're also working with Recovery Church, Vero Beach, which is a fantastic organization for men, women, and children who are struggling with addiction or are now in recovery and need that support system. So we're really grateful for that. The mental health counseling program is going well. We don't force it as part of the program, but it's very highly suggested. So, and we also look at it, the only time we would require somebody, really you need to go, if we see continual behavioral problems and they're like, I don't need that, but we can mandate that as part of their recovery plan to say, you really need to focus on this. So working with the partners there has been fantastic. Working with our partners at the Mental Health Collaborative, Wes has been really super to help us with questions and different things that we need. So we're thankful for that. To talk about the questions that were given to us, and I try to make them brief. A couple of things that said, what did you learn, your team learned in the last 6 months that were maybe not expected or reinforced in the strategies and future programs? So we know the importance of case management. That's the one way to make an effective recovery plan for anybody in recovery. So we are seeking additional funding to fund another person to come in and really dedicate it. I'll talk about it a little bit later, but that's one of the initiatives that we know the importance of, that we need to work on, and continue. It's one way to evaluate our program as well, what we're doing, what's working, what's not working, and so we think that's important. We need to stay focused on the ever-changing landscape that comes with addiction and recovery. Every day there's a new drug, and you're constantly trying to keep abreast of that. And now we have to have a 20-panel drug test because of all the other things that are out there. And unfortunately, they're legal. Kava bars are popping up everywhere. Kratom you can buy anywhere, and they have those effects on them. I think it's an opioid kind of effect. So we want to continue to do that to maintain our accountability to not only our residents, but to our funders and our partners, and maintain our accountability to our mission, vision, and our purpose. The other thing we did this year, we completed a SWOT analysis. It's one of the first ones we've done. And it was very informative. It was important for us to take time to do that, reevaluate what we're doing, how we're doing it, and the results were really interesting. What the management team thought were where we did good, where we were bad, where we needed our opportunities were, what our threats were, and everybody had a different view on that, which is interesting. So that was really good. We did the summary of the assessment, and we think that's going to put us on a good trajectory for 2025 in terms of an action plan that we put together as a result of that. So it wasn't just like, here, what are the results, and well, what are we going to do about it? So we have an action plan set up for that. We're excited. One of our other issues, which has kind of been a challenge, has been fundraising. We are working on that. It's part of the problem. It's a challenge for us because drug and alcohol recovery programs for men are not very donor inviting, shall we say. It's very hard to get people to understand what we do. And maybe they have a family member, they want to be quiet about it, they don't want to say anything. So we've got to change that. And one of the things we really want to do is break that stigma, not only of the behavioral health part, but break the stigma of what addiction is and what it does, and then what recovery looks like and what that means to be in a program like ours. So that's been a bit of an issue, but we are working on a fundraising plan. So we have scheduled that the talk with Matt up at the Up Center, and we're going to use their facility. I think May 9th is the date we have. We're going to set up an annual event. We have been in discussions with Darrell Lohr. He's going to be our guest speaker. And so we're excited about the possibilities that will bring to us so that we have additional funding sources. So that's been a challenge, but we're working on it. I think that having there'll be other community speakers along with some of our residents and managers, and I think it'd be great opportunity to share what we're doing. And we thank Darrell for coming, taking a tour, and being involved, and really caring about what we do. And he can obviously speak to the problems in the county. He knows what's going on with that. And the second question was what things that did not work as planned. I think everybody knows the storm that came in mid-October was a bit crazy time for us. While we followed every one of our protocols, we had the shutters up, we had everything battened down. We sent men to shelters, evacuation centers, shelters. However, the rain came in, and the rain came in, and the rain didn't stop. And we had massive amounts of flooding in one of our buildings. Thank God, not a resident apartment building. It's our other building in the back where we have our office cafe in one apartment, which nobody was in. So we are continuing to evaluate our disaster plan, what that looks like for us. If we have, we're not in a floodplain, but we need to look at that flooding issue. I think it was just an intense storm, but we need to mitigate that. So we're looking at getting people out of those areas where we know it's a problem, get them out, put sandbags when we know something crazy is coming. Obviously, we don't want to lock them in. But that really made us think about what we're doing in terms of disaster preparedness. And but our partners at Habitat for Humanity and First Methodist Church, First Methodist spearheading that program to help us come in and do the remediation for mold and drywall and flooring. And so we're excited that we have those opportunities through our partners to do just that. A couple of things that you said about emerging issues. Excuse me. Emerging issues in our county. As for Dynamic Life, we desire to be in partnership with every available community agency to maintain our place in the continuum of care. That's a big goal for us, working with our community partners and residents of Indian River County who are struggling with addiction and recovery. The issues we see in our county are everything that you guys know about. One of the issues is the need for the detox facility. We've been and talked about that for a long time, been at meetings, even going back to when Anne Marie Soriano was here. And it's one of those things that we hope will come to fruition in our county. As Frank talked about, and expanded behavioral health problems and programs that are needed. We are just overburdened with the facilities that we have in the county. And establishing a women's recovery development program with Sober Living, which guys are kind of spearheading that program, and we're excited. That started also back with Anne Marie and like 2 or 3 years ago with Denny Nystrom and Mary Beth and everybody. So we're glad to see that that's coming around as part of one of those programs. The system of care obviously is overburdened in our county. We all know that. And unfortunately, our justice system has become the repository of all of our mental health issues, behavioral health issues, recovery issues, and to some extent homelessness. The latest statistics from the Indian River County Jail report that in 2023, over 300 inmates were treated for alcohol withdrawal, over 200 inmates were treated for opioid withdrawal, and over 175 inmates were treated for both substances. So, they're struggling over there. And we work with Chaplain Louis to get the guys there who can be released to us, either through drug court. We also work with Derek Knudsen, who's the placement coordinator from the jail, and he interviews people before they come to us. So we're excited for that opportunity to get guys straight from the jail to us, and so there's no escaping. And so that's a problem, and we need to look into it. But thanks to our funding from the hospital district, Dynamic Life, we can be a part of that continuum of care and providing men the stable environment they need, a roof over their head, clothes on their back, food in their body. Most importantly, their required participation in our recovery program and access to the free to the resident behavioral health counseling. And we're hoping that those components will, stop these trends within the jail that we'd love to have more dynamic lives around. And then the last thing you asked was what do we see as a board to be the most striking difference about our organization in the next 5 years. I believe that Dynamic Life will continue to grow, further develop the plans that we have and the recovery program that we have, the case management that we have, to just really have a dedicated person instead of managers trying to manage the day-to-day operations and doing that and wearing many hats. So part of the plan is to definitely we're asking for additional funding for people to be interviewed for that program. We have a successful program. We have, to that end, we're currently developing plans for a director, as I talked about, who will really focus on site directors. Part of that is because, I'm leaving, but I'll talk about that at the end. And we really want case management as really a self-contained unit within our program, where that person just works with that. Any assessments, life assessments, recovery capital assessments, those things, so that we can actually take the time with that person. And as you know, there's no cookie cutter approach to recovery and addiction. So having that will allow us to further develop a personalized plan for that person, because not everything works for everybody. It's also their willingness to be healed. It's how do they learn, those kinds of things. And really, instead of taking the men and say, you have to fit into the program, we have to learn to be organic to work around the men. So that's a direction that we really want to focus on in 2025. We also want to continue our program and our participation with other agencies like SAFER. We've been to a lot of their programs, which is very helpful to us about what's going on in recovery. Their Tall Cop presentation was just awesome, and we were thankful to go there. We're also involved with the Public Safety Council, and that is really good for us to know what's going on in the county. I've talked to Ashley, their coordinator, and we're looking at becoming a member of that council. I think it'll be really good for us. Our goal is to achieve that place at the table. We want to be another go-to reference when people say, what do I do about this? Hey, go to Dynamic Life, and find out. When people say what's happening, well, we can tell the Public Safety Council, we can tell these folks what is going on, and have that place. Dynamic Life remains committed to the hospital district in any way we can to support initiatives that the district plans through our community awareness, advocacy, government agencies. And we're looking forward to that. We're looking forward to the RFP process for Dynamic Life for the women's program. So we're excited about that. We'll wait to hear from you on that. And in terms of the what's going on with me, as you may or may not know, I've had some health issues that are not resolved. And so I need to take time away, so I've stepped away from day-to-day workings at Dynamic Life, so I will no longer be a program manager there. But the board of directors has asked me to be on the board of directors for Dynamic Life Incorporated, and so I've gladly accepted that role. That'll be December 10th, so I'm gone but not forgotten. Additionally, I've talked to George, who's the president of the board, and I have signed on to be the liaison to the hospital district and to the UP Center and to our other agencies because of really the relationships that I've developed with all of you over the last going on 4 years now. And I just can't thank you enough for your support, your belief in what we do, and how you fund us and support us, knowing that you're here, and that you care about the county, you care about our citizens, and anything that we need, you're able to address us with us or send us where we need to go, and we appreciate that relationship that we have. So, so you still see me around, like Mary Beth said. I'm sorry to see that you're going, and Barbara, that you're going. We've known each other for, like I said, 4 years, and we're excited for those new adventures. But like Mary Beth said, you just can't say no, can you? So I remain committed, and I'm here. If there's any questions, I'll take them through the chair.
Well, Mike, you've done a fantastic job there, and we wish you the best, and we hope your health issues get resolved.
Thank you.
And all that, because you've done a fantastic job for Dynamic.
Thank you. Thank you
I
very
do
much.
have a
appreciate
question for you, though.
Oh, yeah.
The men that graduate, so to speak, okay, how long do you track them, and what is your forever success story type?
We have many. I will say that we have no way right now of doing the tracking because it's strictly voluntary. We know of our success stories because they all are part of our alumni group that comes in to teach, to do whatever it is that we've asked them to do. So in terms of one of the programs that we're looking at is to actually have a program where they would, like, if they choose to maintain with us what's going on with their lives, maybe that's a way to reach out to them and send them an email and say, hey, how you doing? What's going on? You know, we'd love for you to come back. And some of them move out of state, so it's been very difficult. It's a difficult task to herd cats once they've, left our program. And so unfortunately, we don't, except for the people we know who are still in the county and working and coming back as alumni to support us.
Anybody have any other questions? Well,
Thank you very much
again,
for your
great
time.
Report.
Great report,
Very
thank you,
Thank you, I
and best
appreciate
of
it.
luck. Let us know
Thank
how you're
you.
doing, okay?
Oh, yeah, I will. We'll be
All
in
right.
touch with Frank and Jennifer and Kate and Dawn and the new addition of your, Caitlin, I'm sorry, Caitlin. Thank you very much for your time.
All right, thank you, and good luck, George. Yes. Okay, now we have Sunshine Physical Therapy, Jenny.
Hello, everybody. How are you? Thank you very much for your...
I know I didn't steal your thunder.
You did not necessarily steal it, but you certainly added to it, so thank you for that. It's nice to see everyone. Happy early Thanksgiving. Happy belated birthday to Barb. And Mary Beth and Barb, we're going to miss you in the year ahead. And Karen, congratulations. We're glad that you're going to be with us. I brought Gianluca up because he wanted to say something very quickly to you all. You hear a lot about what the impact is on our kids because they are so special, but you all have equal impact on the adults that come through our program. So Gianluca Sherry is the director of our adult therapy program at Sunshine.
Thank you, everybody. Nice to meet you. Hello, Frank. So like Jenny said, my name is Gianluca. I'm a doctor of physical therapy and the adult lead therapist at Sunshine. And I wanted to just say a few words to essentially express our gratitude for your continued support and the fact that on our level, I would say a microscopic level, but the level where it really matters with the patients that we see in and day out, we see the benefit from your continued support from the individuals that we serve, not only in the confidence in which we have as therapists for these individuals coming in, but also to be able to provide that level of care that truly is needed for them to either work towards and to achieve their goals that they're there for. Many of them, I can think of several on my current caseload that have been through traumatic, whether it be an electrical bike injury from getting hit by a semi-truck to a motorcycle accident, many accidents that I'm sure many of you have heard about. But these individuals need significant care and need care that they need to be sometimes seen several times even a week. And due to the fact that, you know that how much money we lose every hour for individuals with those, Medicaid type services, with the low reimbursement amounts, because of your support, we can continue to be a strong organization and to provide the care that those individuals really need. So that's what I really wanted to communicate. So thank you.
Thank you.
Well, we have a lot going on, as we usually do, and it's always something new that I have to share with you. We met with the board yesterday and looked at our year-to-date comparison over last year, and I'm very pleased to report that we've made a $225,000 swing to the positive year-to-date this year over last.
That's awesome.
So we are getting there.
Awesome.
We were also blessed with a $500,000 endowment gift from our benefactor, Steve Sadlek, who passed this year. And he is a wonderful memory and legacy for Sunshine for absolutely ever. And I don't know how we got so lucky, but I've managed to maintain Rose in the mix, because this was always his baby, but she realizes that Sunshine is a very special place. So I'm happy that she'll be involved. Macy's story is truly special, and as I said after Frank's story, it was so gratifying. I didn't know that she could walk. I didn't know that she could stand on her own until I saw her dancing with her dad at the gala. It's not something that was really in her future plan, and who knows if she'll ever be able to walk on her own. But it just shows what a village it takes and the difference that dedicated parents can make. And so our efforts for our parents is just as important as our efforts for those kids, because they need that continued support when they're not at Sunshine with us. So thank you for that. What we've learned in the past 6 months, what we've learned in the past year and a half, but specifically, we're seeing a couple of things going on in our pediatric program. One is an extreme growth in the children of nearing school age. So school readiness is a tremendous focus of our work right now, specifically in OT and speech. But this is going to be an area, I think, where every resource is going to have to come together to get these kids to age level so they can go into the general education classroom setting. We've applied to a number of granting agencies and organizations so far for support of that specific program, and we'll continue to work towards that. But it is something that we're now addressing in plans of care, and the goals that we're tracking throughout the year is improving their school readiness. But with that comes behavior. And I know that I've shared this with some of you, if not all of you in the past, but these children are coming in with outrageous behaviors. Escalated, I think, more than probably many generations of kids before. CBS News recently, it was actually earlier this week, I think, did a report on teacher burnout and how it's being caused by the behaviors they're experiencing. The teachers are afraid of their kids. And when that happens, education kind of goes out the window because you're just trying to keep the kids quiet. That happens in therapy too. We have kids who just come in so dysregulated, and our therapists aren't trained in how to handle that. They know somewhat intuitively, but there's a lot more. So we're creating this whole new model in our pediatric department. We've partnered with a group called Piece of the Puzzle Behavior Analysis. Christina Morales, who is the founder, is here with me this evening, to bring behavior into the sessions with those children who have extreme behaviors and who aren't able to get through their therapy sessions because it takes so long just to settle them down and get them focused. And this is something that Sunshine is doing as a proactive effort, and what the BCBA Madison, who's coming in with the therapists for observation for those children whose parents have approved and have given releases for it, is really both to observe the child and to train our therapists into the best ways to approach these kids so they can meet their goals and be successful more quickly than they would otherwise. The parents are very excited because it's happening, I understand, with the adults as well, but behaviors are a significant problem. I personally think there is a correlation with COVID. Being in those homes with your parents, working, trying to raise you as well when you're 1, 2 years old, it has a definite impact. And that's the age group that we're seeing right now, expanding so much. So this model has not really been done before. Sunshine is funding it because we believe in it. And it's been a tremendous benefit to the therapists so far. Our parents are on waiting lists for behavior analysis, behavior therapies. It's years sometimes, and we need early intervention for these children because the older they get, the worse the behavior and the more habitual it becomes. So we're also working with Piece of the Puzzle to offer behavior co-treats and one-on-one treats for those children that could really use it. So we're excited about that. I know that was lengthy, but it's a big deal. We are also working with the ARC, still with one-on-one, but we've also launched ARC group treatments with, well, it's not treatment, it's really just group activities with our therapists based on particular skills for specifically activities of daily living, but it is working so beautifully because not only is it run by therapists, but we're seeing the socialization and the skills that we're hoping our one-on-one clients will be growing through therapy happening in a group environment, which is pretty exciting. What didn't work? I've learned, I don't know why it took me this long to figure it out because I was a parent too. The parents are really busy. So when you try and put something else on their schedule, it's not always the most convenient. So rather than trying to pull parents together for support groups, adding a virtual component to that and just encouraging that network, offering resources in a proactive way is where we're going to take our parent support group. But respite nights, they are absolutely loving. So we're now expanding our respite nights to once a month, where parents, whether they're our patients or not, can bring their children, have a couple of hours to go shop, go out to dinner, take a nap. And that is going to be scheduled on our calendar online for those parents of kids with autism or special needs who may need a skilled environment to take their children. Emerging issues. Sunshine has always sought to fill a need in the community that we recognize primarily because of what our patients are telling us. We know that there are some specialty services in our sector that are under-resourced right now. And so I'm really happy to say that Sunshine has opened up pelvic floor therapy in our PT department, and we're also going to start therapy for lymphedema, and that will begin in January. So we're trying to seek those niches that we are the appropriate location to serve and fill them. So the area I think that you all can be helpful with, the community can be helpful with, that we don't have the resources in, is more support for our patients with autism and special needs. And that is true both for our kids and our adults. Again, it's something that Christina and I talk a lot about. I know that I've spoken to you all about it before, but there is a sore need for more resources for that community. And Karen, I'm going to talk to you quickly because I know I've mentioned it before. We have a little 1-year-old. His mom doesn't speak English. She's illiterate. And she is so committed to getting her child to his therapy sessions, but they have to wait for medical transport, 3 hours to arrive, and then they sit in our lobby for 3 hours waiting to be picked up. And he's 1. I can only imagine what it's like to have to wrangle a 1-year-old for that amount of time to be able to come for an hour of therapy. There's got to be something that can be done. And it's not, it's Medicaid, medical,
Medicaid,
it's
I know.
Medicaid.
This is not, I want to clarify.
I know
that
it's not.
us tripping them, okay. Give me a call.
Yeah.
Offline, we'll have a conversation of what we can do with transportation disadvantage under the
Yeah.
circumstances. We do have funding for developmentally disabled, and so we can work something out, okay?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
I'm sure we are not the only ones who experience it. It's just,
Yeah, unfortunately, the Medicaid is a whole different, Medicaid tripping is a whole different
Yeah.
thing that I don't have any control of.
I know, but maybe you have some good counsel.
Yep.
Ideas for me. And so in the next 5 years, I think that probably what you'll see is just more growth at Sunshine. We are looking at creative ways that we can continue to expand out into the community and continue to provide services beyond our clinic. And so we are just very grateful that you all are on this path with us and have the commitment to our clientele. So I'd like to thank you again. And if there are questions.
So I have a question. Child Care Resources, and you probably know this or whatever, but they are expanding, and they're expanding their occupational therapy and,
Yes.
and speech therapy and that kind of thing. What I've been told is that not just for the children that go to school there, but they want to open it up. Do you two talk?
I have reached out to them in the past. They work with contractors, which is a little bit different than what we do. I would love to see Sunshine be their therapy team. And we did bring that up briefly last year. And in fact, Carl. The Waddells were at the gala with Carl, and I did have a chance to talk to Shelley a bit, and I'm hoping that she will be able to help us bridge that, because I think it would be a tremendous partnership. That's exactly the kind of thing we're trying to do, and we have the team to do it. So I appreciate you bringing that up. So I send it out to the universe.
It seems like such a natural fit to
Yes.
me. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that is what I believe about collaboration, and not all nonprofits think about it, is that we do what we do really well, and you guys do what you do really well. So rather than reinventing the wheel, let's do it together. And that's where partnerships like the Piece of the Puzzle and Sunshine come in.
Actually, I'd like to know just a little bit more about Piece of the Puzzle, because exactly. Don't want to take a long time.
No, it's a phenomenal program. I've introduced Christina to CSAC as well, but this woman is dynamic, so.
Yes, so I am an autism mom, so I'm very passionate about what I do. Piece of the Puzzle was the first organization that I started, and what ABA therapy is it's a one-to-one model that we go into homes. I used to have centers where kids could come, but I actually opened up a school. So I replaced that center model with our school. And we do that one-to-one therapy in people's homes. We go into the schools within the school district. And then Piece of the Puzzle obviously also consults at my school, Bumblebee Academy. And at Bumblebee Academy, our ABA services look a little different than that one-to-one model, and it's very similar to what we're doing at Sunshine. We're doing more of a train the teacher model in my schools, and the therapists in the classrooms are supporting the environment, not just one-on-one with kids. The one-on-one is necessary, and I'm not against it by any means. We have some kids that come in that we assess that are not ready for our school environment, and they need the one-on-one first. They need to learn to understand contingencies of like, first we're going to do this, then you can do something else, and everything is based around positive reinforcement. Not to say that there's never a punishment procedure used. Sometimes that is, but positive reinforcement is always the first choice, and that's where we go first, and then we're basically slowly shaping their behaviors, and we're setting clear goals and taking data on their behaviors. And Madison, who is working at Sunshine, we decided that because it's such a large scale, like, where are we going to measure this so we can ensure that we're making progress in that environment? And so what we're doing is right now she's getting baseline on all the kids for their disruptive behaviors throughout each session, and a good baseline on how long are they able to attend to a task. Doesn't necessarily mean that they have to be sitting down. I'm very passionate about getting educators and all therapists to understand that, like, some kids aren't going to sit like other kids are, and if they want to stand up while they're learning, if they need to be like on a chair bouncing, like whatever it is, but our goal is to get that joint attention, because without that, you're not going to make any progress with the kids. Behavior is the foundation to everything that they need to do. So I guess that, I hope that answers kind of what we do. It's very much, I also have a teen program for preteens and teens with life and social skills groups. My son is 17 now. I was told he was never gonna talk and I was gonna have to care for him forever. And he's why I got into this field and became a behavior analyst. But he's now learning how to drive, and yes, and he's working with a videographer, and he just did a piece on my school, and he's going to do one on Sunshine as well. But I'm just really passionate about not placing limitations on these kids, because that's really the problem. Had I listened to what I was told, I was always told, your son can't do this, he can't do that. He wouldn't be where he's at today. And so, but the behavior piece is really so important, and working with Sunshine has been amazing. Honestly, a lot of therapists are not always open to behavior. They don't really want, and her therapists have been so welcoming and amazing, and we're learning from them too. It's all, like you said, why everybody's trying to do it all themselves when we can all be collaborating. And Ginny and I have talked about the model of her therapist coming into my school. So.
What did you say the name of your school was, the academy?
Yeah, Bumblebee Academy.
Okay.
Yeah, and it's preschool and elementary. Yeah, it's right on the border of Vero and Fort Pierce. So.
And it's all children with autism.
Yeah, or not all autism, but we have ADHD, oppositional defiant disorder. So really any kids that have some sort of disability, really. So, any other questions?
Thank you.
Awesome. Yeah, no problem. Thank you, guys.
Yeah. We're lucky we found her. So.
Any other questions for Jenny? No?
Thank you all. It's good to see you.
Know Rose and Steve very well, and that's the first time I ever heard of Sunshine Physical Therapy, because he talked about it all the time.
I
Yes.
know.
All the time.
I was honored to
So-
do the eulogy at his
Nice.
service. It was
Yes.
amazing.
Yes.
So,
All right,
thank
so
you.
good luck, thank you. Okay, any unfinished business of? Okay, new business, we have a resolution.
Yes.
Jennifer?
Yes. Where did I do that? Thank you, Madam Chair. We have Resolution 2024-05 for adoption tonight, and this pertains to the upcoming purchase of the property from Centennial Holdings Treasure Coast LLC, which is the former site of the Children's Home Society facility that we've been talking about now for some months, that we're currently under contract to purchase. So the title commitment required a board resolution authorizing our board chair signing the closing documents and authorizing the board's approval of the property. And so I have edited this a little bit. I did look at the page 2 at the bottom there below the legal description. Now therefore be it resolved. What we need to have a resolution memorializing is that the board is authorizing Mary Beth Cunningham as the board chair to execute the closing documents. We've already executed the contract to purchase. And so I've revised this a little bit from what's in your packet. So again, up ahead of the legal description, it does say, whereas the district has the authority to purchase property in accordance with the provision in the special act, whereas the district has confirmed that the real property located at is free from liens and encumbrances, and whereas the district accepted the as-is residential contract for sale and purchase with Centennial Holdings for the purchase of the subject property at the fair market value purchase. Now we're going to authorize our board chair to execute all closing documents accepting the conveyance of the subject property pursuant to the as-is contract for sale and purchase by and between the parties, and I added in as well, pursuant to all conditions agreed to between the parties and subject to clear title. So what you will see once it's actually in final form is that language. Are there any additional comments or questions that you think should be included? I did go back to the title commitment this afternoon to make sure that the language that the title commitment requires is in the resolution, and it is.
No.
So
I need a motion to
move that we direct council to finalize the resolution and that we direct our chairman to execute that resolution as amended.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, thank you.
So the resolution I have in my hand is not good to sign.
No, so I'm gonna give you, I'm gonna revise it and I'll give you the signature page.
Okay. All right,
Save the
thank you very much. Any other business?
Well, Mary Beth, yesterday during the chairman's meeting, I gave you all some information concerning the Leapfrog report. And we're not in a position to make a decision or take any action. I understand that. And we actually probably need information, if you will. And what I was wondering is if this is something we could have Frank explore as to either with Dr. Rothman or Dr. Peace or Delaney, because some of the questions touch on the other four facilities in ours that potentially are in our sphere. The first question, I think, is to the degree that the other four facilities support Cleveland Clinic, do they touch in any of the areas that are maybe of concern? And if they don't, okay, then they're beyond our purview or interest. If they do, the data may be dated, as has been pointed out, because it's not current. Okay, well, what does it mean in the context of the current time? I would have had that conversation, but as a trustee, without authorization of you all, I kind of would be potentially being rogue, or at least appearing being rogue, and didn't want to do that. And there's a difference between me having that conversation and our executive director having that conversation. So anyhow, just at this stage, I'm not looking for formal action per se, but just these are topics of conversation that might need to be explored so that we know where things really are on those topics is all.
I think that's fair. Dr. Pease came and told us what Indian River was doing and their plan to get to an A in Leapfrog. I think it's fair to ask Frank, yes?
Yeah, and in the course of that, I wondered if Frank has had any of those conversations. I mean, you are the one that's
Okay.
more closely.
Dr. Pease is on.
Oh.
Dr. Pease, would you like to say anything?
Yes, thank you, Madam Chairman. I would love the opportunity. You know, it's wonderful to be able to know that we maintained our Leapfrog B in this latest report. And, you know, I do want to echo what Paul said. I mean, it is 24 to 36 months old data that we're looking at. And, you know, the thing about Leapfrog is that it only looks at our Medicare patients. So it's a very select population that Leapfrog judges us on. And I wanted to talk about some of the elements that were referred to, and, you know, specifically the hand hygiene and the hand washing. There's a lot of healthcare organizations that invest in technology to be able to monitor our hand washing. And, you know, our true north is patient outcomes and actually improving the care that the patients are getting at the bedside. So we've invested in those frontline clinical skills. And, you know, the proof is in the pudding, because if you look at how we performed over the last few years, you can, infections that happen at the bedside, things like C. diff, which is that infectious diarrhea. You know, we have reduced our C. diff rate by 50% over the past 2 years. We've had 0 staph infections over the past year. We've only had 1 central line infections over the past year. And we've continued to drive down. We put in technology, prioritizing the outcomes. We put in technology to actually drive down our mortality and our sepsis mortality. Our sepsis mortality is down by over 45% over the past 2 years, and our mortality is down by 37%. So not only are more patients surviving sepsis, more patients are surviving and getting to go home. So we are on target to and projecting that we'll be at a Leapfrog A in the spring of 2026. And in terms of our other 4 facilities, we have been able to put in those process metrics around hand hygiene and are currently at 100% at those sites. So it's not a lack of performance at Indian River, it's a lack of the ability to report some of these process measures that is going to be corrected here very shortly. But I did want to take the opportunity to kind of talk about the fact that, you know, we are a world-class healthcare organization. And we have chosen as an organization to use a quality collaborative called Vizient. There's over 3,000 hospitals across the country that participate in Vizient, reporting data, and it's for all of our patients, not just our Medicare patients. And when you look at our performance at Indian River at Vizient, so Vizient looks at not just the infections, and it looks at readmissions, it looks at length of stay, it looks at overall outcomes, and it looks at equity. And so when you look at our performance at Indian River, we're currently performing at the 85th percentile nationwide. So we're doing incredibly well when you benchmark us across other likewise hospitals across the country. And you know, I also wanted to call out the fact that we've had so much growth at Indian River as we become integrated within all of Cleveland Clinic. And we have seen, we are now a Joint Commission accredited thrombectomy center, which has had a huge impact on our communities because, you know, we didn't have a thrombectomy center within Vero. Patients were having to go outside of our community. And now we have one of the largest programs in South Florida because we have such a fragile population and it's serving the needs of our very elderly that we're serving. We have become world-class. We've become American College of Cardiology accredited for not just our transcatheter valve procedures. Those are being able to replace aortic valves without open heart surgery. We've also added EP labs and cath labs to be able to provide that world-class healthcare. I mean, you can have a heart attack in Vero, and we can literally have a stent in your heart within 22 minutes. We've also have been able to achieve some really high rankings with the guidelines with the American Heart Association, and we're currently Gold Plus for all of our stroke care and our cancer care. We've become accredited within our comprehensive community program. And then the last thing I'll talk about is, you know, we recently, our leadership team got to go to Orlando to get recognized by the Florida Hospital Association in partnership with the Agency for Healthcare Administration, honoring our excellence in maternity care and basically preventing unnecessary C-sections. And the thing that I'll point out there, especially, you know, not only being top in the collaborative around anemia management, you know, making sure that mommies are having more spontaneous vaginal deliveries and less C-sections, but we've actually we were called out as one of only the top 25 hospitals in all the country to be able to have best in class for our Black patients, our Black mommies, and just our commitment to equity. So I wanted to make sure that, you know, that this body understood that our true north is always going to be what's, you know, investing in the resources that improve the quality and care and outcomes. And that's where we are going to continue to focus.
Thank you, Dr. Pease. Appreciate that.
The area, you didn't have the benefit of my comments from yesterday at the meeting, and what I had done in looking at the Leapfrog report, as you know, they use a digital representation of a gauge To be honest with you, I was more interested in the other 4 facilities than Cleveland Clinic, and you know, give credit where credit's due. The last time we had this conversation, it was regarding concern with MRSA, and MRSA's not on the chart. In other words, in terms of it was not an issue. Cleveland Clinic, Indian River does seem to be making very favorable progress. There were 2 things that kind of jumped out at me when I looked at the information. And one is that for the 5 Florida facilities, communication seemed to be an issue. So my point of interest is, you know, where that's coming from, what's the driver there, and you know, what's being done to facilitate that, because I see it at all, you know, all 5 facilities. The inference I draw is, okay, is this a Florida leadership issue as opposed to a Cleveland Clinic Indian River issue, and what's being done to mitigate those concerns that surfaced in the report. The other area that seemed to involve the other 4 facilities, but not Indian River, had to do with harmful events, dangerous blood clots, surgical wounds, splits open, sepsis, infection after surgery were identified. Additionally, on top of that, those other facilities being characterized as C hospitals, and our relationship with those hospitals being derived from the course of care that originates in Cleveland Clinic. And in other words, when our patients from Indian River County get referred down there, they're going to these other facilities. So out of interest for the folks here that are going there, whether or not these topics even touch on anybody that would be referred down there, number 1, and 2, if so, in what areas, and then where does either or any of those 4 facilities that support us, where are they headed on that? So that's kind of where I had processed this, and I recognize Cleveland Clinic is making, Indian River is making progress, and I do appreciate that and recognize it. So my attention was more broad spectrum on the communication, what that's about from the information that Leapfrog provided, and then as to the other 4 facilities, these other areas that perhaps touch more on safety issues, what's going on there?
Yeah, great question. You know, so I mean, I think going to the communication domain around patient-centeredness, you know, that's the communication, that's everything from nurse responsiveness to doc communication to discharge communication. And, you know, the reporting period reflected in this Leapfrog report actually hit us, you know, in the Florida region, especially at Indian River, during the time period that we were integrating our electronic medical record, our EPIC system. And it's very tumultuous for your caregivers as well as your patients to have everything transition over from one EMR to another. So that period does report, you know, that period that was reported in there that was what was occurring across the Florida region. That being said, you know, we've seen a 20% decile improvement in our patient experience over since January. And we've put a ton of energy into educating our caregivers at the bedside in terms of how to actually improve our communication skills, and a lot of action planning that has made that very successful. You know, in regards to some of the harm events, you know, some of the same thing there. We have implemented a technology called it's a safety event reporting system, and you know, it's something that was not available to our Treasure Coast hospitals before Cleveland Clinic came in. And, you know, actually reporting, actually creating a reporting culture, having your frontline caregivers put in their safety concerns, especially their near miss events, is critically important in building that safety culture. And so what we've seen over the last year is an increase in that SIRS, that safety event reporting. But what we've also seen is an actual decrease in the actual amount of harm reaching our patients. So, you know, it's a little bit, and it just goes back to the methodology of how we get judged by Leapfrog versus Vizient. because Leapfrog looks at the number of SIRS ratio and the severity, not necessarily did we actually harm the patient on the backside of things. So, I'm very comfortable with the fact that we're continuing to drive a safer culture and that less harm is actually reaching our patients. And then the last thing I would say is that I think Indian River, the number of transfers that actually leave Indian River is very, very few and far between. And if we're moving patients out of Indian River, typically it's a patient that we're taking care of in heart failure who now has an opportunity to get a heart transplant down at Weston. Weston is a quaternary healthcare system. So not only do we do transplants and have all these high levels of subspecialties, we obviously have a medical school training program that we cooperate with in our Ohio program, and then educating all of those residents. And we're also very involved in research. So we very much, I think the Indian River patients in our communities benefit from being a part of Cleveland Clinic and knowing that they're going to get the best in class, world-class care locally. And at the same time, once they get to stages of their illness where they're going to require that quaternary care, they don't have to be transferred outside of our system. We can keep them inside of our system in a very seamless manner. So I would ask Rick if there was anything else you wanted to add on to that.
Go ahead, Dr. Rahman. I've got a follow-up. Go ahead.
Go ahead, Rick.
Hi, thank you guys. Sorry, I'm out of the state, so I apologize for not being there in person. Thank you to the board and for the questions. Look, we're on a journey, and our journey started in 2019. That journey was interrupted by the pandemic. However, the journey to integrate into the Cleveland Clinic is continuing. We're fortunate, and as we look across the communication domains and those process structural measures that Leapfrog looks at, to have all of our communication scores increasing within Indian River Hospital. As we look across the service lines that we offer, to Sonia's point, the majority of patients that are being transferred out of Indian River either suffer severe trauma and require a higher level trauma center, or are being evaluated for heart transplantation or liver transplantation. And that patient population is typically transferred to one of the transplant centers, either to the north of us or down to west and south of us. We're committed to continue to improve our quality scores and really meet the demands of both the raters, the rankers, and to improve outcomes for the patients in our community. We are on track to reach our Leapfrog A status by 2026. We may potentially reach that sooner. I appreciate all the interest in improving quality here in Indian River County, and it is this board that continues to drive excellence for members of Indian River County and for the community, and appreciate everybody's input. And happy to come back and perhaps we can give an end of the year update, Sonia, on how we're performing on quality and patient experience next month or in January.
How delayed is the Leapfrog? I mean, I know the score's out, but you
so
referenced the period. What is that period?
Yeah, so I can give you so if we look at the patient experience scores, so nurse communication, doctor communication, staff responsiveness, communication about medicine and discharge information, those are all Q4 2022 and Q3 2023. So if you look across how we're performing today, and I may have shared with some of you the patient experience scores from Indian River, as our patient experience scores and communication scores in the emergency department are approaching top decile. We won't see that for another 2 years in the Leapfrog surveys. Other scores are even more dated, and then there are those that are a bit more recent. And so the Leapfrog surveys takes into consideration how a hospital is performing, and because it is based on that Medicare data, it tends to be a bit backward looking. And so similar to what our colleagues have published, as we look across the hospitals, integration takes time for us to get Leapfrog scores where they need to be. And so I believe our competitors to the north have said that it's going to take them 3 or 4 years to get to a Leapfrog A. Our integration really was interrupted by COVID, and so it's fascinating what Sonia and the team have been able to do, in that we're approaching a Leapfrog A now. Coming out of COVID, we believe we'll be there by the end of 2025. And so confident that we're on the right track. We have to continue to have these conversations, drive quality and outcome metrics at the hospital level and ensure that we're able to provide as much tertiary care services for members of the Indian River County and for the residents. So thank you guys for the questions.
So I have a question for you. Is there other measurements that, that you have that you look at? I know in the automotive industry, okay, there were several different ways that we were rated and we were looked at. And I'm sure Leapfrog is one, but I'm sure that there's other, you talked about.
Didn't Dr. P say Vision?
Vision is one.
Something we should be watching.
And how much more current, because I know Paul is very interested in these scores for whatever reason, and so I think that we need to, if we are going to look at scores, we would want to have scores that are most recent for the hospital. And maybe if it's more than one, maybe we could have just a couple, because it sounds like Leapfrog is certainly not one that we would want to look at since it's old news.
It is old for everybody,
over to Sonia. But I would say this, that it is our responsibility to the district and the residents of Indian River County to report on patient experience and outcome metrics, including mortality rates for the Cleveland Clinic Indian River Hospital and the inpatient psychiatric facility, our behavioral health center. And the most up-to-date information that we can provide is really in real time, whether it be on a semi-annual or quarterly basis, depending on how the data is aggregated. But the data that we provide, and we will provide at our next update, will be the most recent data. Typically, it's a quarter in the rear. And so that data, I think that data we could provide and benchmark to the Vizient database, which is typically what we look at internally. And again, and healthcare is not proprietary. We want to be extraordinarily transparent with our outcome measures and ensure that where we are performing well, we understand those where that is, and where we have opportunities, we want to ensure that we're capitalizing on those too. And so I would say that the data that we would bring to this committee and for the public would be the most up-to-date data. And Sonia may have some other ideas on the raters, the rankers, and there's so many different ones, and they all collect the data a little bit differently. And for context, our main campus in Ohio is the #2 hospital in the world. They're ranked a little bit differently on the Leapfrog surveys. And so I would just call that out to say that we have to look across all of the raters and rankers and take into consideration real-time data and patient outcomes to understand the performance of any given hospital. Sonia, additional comments?
Well, the only thing I would add is that, yes, I mean, the Vizient collaborative that we are in, the data runs about 6 months old from Vizient. But, you know, we have such robust data now that we're all on the same electronic medical records. We almost get real-time data on our infection prevention, all of the metrics. So, you know, we could actually give you an updated report every quarter. But some of the data will run 6 months in arrears. So, you know, some of the infection control, the hospital-acquired conditions, the patient safety goals, you know, that's almost real time. Some of the other measures, the HCAHPS, things like that, run about 6 months. And then the other thing that I think really drives quality is all of the Get with the Guidelines, because that is best in class, putting in the artificial intelligence that goes behind our sepsis module, putting in the being able to identify a high-risk COPD patient to make sure I connect them with that longitudinal care when I get out. So the Get with the Guidelines and the fact that, you know, we went from 0 high-performing specialties to now 8 of our specialties. The 8 most common services that patients come into Indian River are now high-performing. So I think those are the things that are actually your leading indicators of how well are we doing as a healthcare system.
Yeah, Dr. Pease, I really appreciate you coming on, and I think, you know, and Rick has made the commitment that he will be transparent in information.
I agree, and I do appreciate y'all showing up this evening. I'm sure you didn't plan, it wasn't on your calendar until just recently, and I think that speaks very well of you all and your intentions to serve our community. And this is about working together and helping the community learn and understand better. And our responsibility in asking the questions that come up that should be asked. And I appreciate the response. the transparency. It's very welcome. Thank you.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you for the opportunity to be here.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Pease, and thank you, Rick. I know you have to sign off, so, okay.
Yeah, thanks, guys.
I was just going to ask Frank, are you familiar with the Vizient?
I am.
And is that just something that we ought
I
to
think it
start
would
paying
be,
attention to?
I think it would be great, and to receive quarterly data, that would be fantastic.
Too much for them to ask of them, though, I mean.
It's not.
It's not? Okay.
It's not.
As digital as
sure we're
everything
not-
is, I can't imagine it would.
Review it in the board meetings, so I'm pretty sure that they can,
Okay,
I
good.
quality is open to anybody. So.
And I think it would help the community, and I think
Good.
Great
it'd be
idea.
a good movement.
Glad they were here.
Any other business from, any public comment? Anybody on, nothing? Okay, we are adjourned. Everybody have a wonderful Thanksgiving. This is truly the season to be thankful for everything we have. So thank you.
Thank you.